Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to For Safer Spaces Smash Stigma Support Series. My name is Catherine. I'm the founder and executive director of For Safer Space. So let me tell you a little bit about For Safer Space before we get into today's event. So this is our English website, forsaferspace.org. We are a registered Canadian not-for-profit social enterprise, and we offer affordable, accessible, and also affirming mental health care. And we have client-centered identity affirming and anti-oppressive mental health support available here. So For Safer Space, as I just said, is a registered Canadian nonprofit social enterprise that supports affordable, accessible, affirming mental health care. So right now, this English website, we provide a listing platform for licensed mental health professionals that belong to traditionally marginalized group, and we offer online mental health programming and hold system navigation support events on topics relevant to our community members. And our mission is to promote affordable, accessible, and identity-affirming mental health care. And our free provider listing platform uplifts traditionally marginalized identities and harness the power of technology to promote human connection. Our vision is to feature and to promote mental health care, promote affordable identity affirming and anti-oppressive mental health support to people, and for people to be able to access it, and licensed mental health care professionals who are self-aware and able to have tough conversations are recognized and accessed by people who need them. And our values are courage, vulnerability, transparency, accountability, growth, healing, accessibility, inclusion, compassion for self and others, collaboration, care, solidarity towards collective liberation. And right now we have 12 to 15 social work students who are doing their practicum at our nonprofit right now. And here are the universities that we are partnering with. We are partnering with Algoma University, Ryerson University, Toronto University, University of Calgary, University of Toronto, and York University. And we are in the middle of negotiating with more partnership with different universities across North America. So feel free to follow us Instagram account. We have a lot of social justice education materials on here, and also we are raising awareness on very different aspects of people's lives. So feel free to follow us on Instagram. It's called for-a_safer_space. This is our Instagram. So it is, for me, it's such a pleasure and honor for me to introduce our guest speaker today, who is going to talk to us about egg freezing. This is a subject in which we should all be deeply interested in, because it's by avoiding mistakes that we can best ensure and create reproductive equity. Our speaker is a psychosocial researcher and registered social worker working primarily in the field of assisted reproduction. Her research interests are egg donation, sperm donation, surrogacy, oncology, fertility preservation, social egg freezing, and infertility, etc. She also designed a social egg freezing decision aid called Freeze My Eggs, with funding support from EMD Serrano. And you can find this free app in the App Store and Google app. So let me show you, oopsie. This is her website. And as you can see, you can download it from iOS and also from Android. And also, of course, you can get on her website to look for more information. It's called frzmyx.me. So you can find this free app in the Apple Store and Google app. She sees so many surrogates, egg donors, and intended parents, including gay couples from all over the world, for counseling in her daytime job. So she might be the only, and perhaps she might be the only Chinese counselor specializing in this area in Canada. So now it's time, everyone. Please join me in welcoming home Dr. Samantha Yi.
Thank you, Catherine. So should I use the share screen button now?
Yes,
should
please.
I do that? Okay, so yeah. Let me just do that. This is the one. Okay, so let me just, okay, so hi everyone. I have never done a presentation using Zoom because this is the new normal. So I usually like the engagement, you know, in a room that I can see faces. But now I can only see Catherine and myself, and I see a list of names, and I don't know whether female, males, and the age. So I assume that all of you are interested to know something about egg freezing, which is awesome. And and thank you, Catherine, for this detailed presentation, introduction. I don't usually tell my parents what I do, because when my mom asked me, oh, exactly, what do you do at work? I said, I talk to people. And but I don't go into all these sperm, eggs, embryo, gay couples. Like my mom, oh, okay, like traditional Chinese parents. And I've been in this field for I guess like 20, like over 20 years. Like I've been practicing for a long time. Thank goodness that I'm very young and very energetic. And I've been involved in the field of assisted reproductive technology for quite some time. I think for about 15 years. And so I see the field that develop from mostly heterosexual couples to like really diverse population. So today, I'm going to talk to you about egg freezing. I will be happy to come back to talk to you some other things about sperm, egg, surrogacy, which is also my interest. Okay, so I understand that the presentation is roughly about like 45 minutes. So I put together a very short PowerPoint presentation just to guide my like talking. And my PowerPoint presentation is like really brief, but I'm hoping to have some like questions and answer period at the end. And if anyone feels, you know, if you have anyone have questions, just feel free to interrupt me and just ask question, because this is supposed to be a very informal presentation, like not those academic types. So now Catherine asked me to do a presentation about egg freezing. So I guess, you know, to be more precise, this is called elective egg freezing or social egg freezing. The reason for that is many people do egg freezing, including people who need to do it for medical reason. For example, transgender before they have the surgery, and they usually freeze eggs, and also for cancer patients. Before they have chemotherapy, they have to do egg freezing or embryo freezings, because otherwise, after cancer treatments, they may become infertile. But I think we are talking about egg freezing for healthy women, just like you and me, that we don't have any medical issue. And we wanted to use this technology for elective reason, because we wanted to have like frozen eggs for future use. So anyway, so egg freezing, usually we call it elective egg freezing or social egg freezing. But you also see something like medical egg freezing, which is referred to something else. Okay, let me just go to here. Okay, so I have a little disclaimer that I don't have any personal experience in egg freezing. I'm too old to freeze eggs. And so I cannot speak to you about like what is that like, the injections, the retrieval. I don't have those experience. But I work at a fertility clinics that I do research and I do counseling. And so I see a lot of patients using egg freezing. I also, all my studies, you know, research and like focus on some egg freezing experiences. And so I'm going to talk to you about like sort of from my research and clinical experiences. Now in the presentation, I also have some images that I download from Google Image, and so there might be copyright, but I think this is like small group presentations that it won't be a matter. Okay, so I'm interested in the egg freezing professionally for many reasons, because, you know, assisted reproductive technology is such a big area that there's so many interesting topics. But I've been interested in egg freezing for quite some time, for about 7 to 8 years, for several reasons. Because in my practice, I'm seeing a lot of single women using donor sperm to have a child at advanced maternal age. So when I refer to advanced maternal age, I refer to like late, like mid, like over 35 to early 40, which is like really, really late. And the chance to have a successful conception is very low, even if they use in vitro fertilization, because people thought that using IVF will solve the problem. Actually, no. It's just a way to facilitate successful like increase the chance to have a successful conception, but it does not change your egg quality. So I see a lot of single women using donor sperm, and and usually the story is that they struggle. They always have a strong desire to have children, but because they don't have a partner, because they are single, so they wait and wait and wait and wait until to the point that it just they can't wait for too long. So they have to use donor sperm to have a child. And so if they use frozen eggs, and so things will be a little bit easier, at least the chance to have a successful conception will be higher. I also see a lot of women pursuing childbearing at a very late age. And so they undergo ineffective fertility treatments. And I also see many women, they're indecisive about egg freezing. It's not that they go to see a doctor and want to freeze eggs and that's it, they start the process. It's usually a difficult decision. Some people may have already made a decision to go ahead, but I see a lot of women that they're still indecisive. Like after they heard from a doctor that this is what they have to do, this is the price, this is the process. And so people become like very hesitant and they're not sure, should they do it or should they put things on hold to wait for 1 year, 2 years, or should they proceed with some other fertility treatment? Okay, so I think that decision making is a big part in egg freezing. And I think one of the main reasons is that a lot of time, like people don't think about like fertility planning. And as you know that even those in our like education system, all those family planning, we talk about pregnancy prevention. We talk about contraception, try to avoid a pregnancy, but not much about, you have to think proactively, the timeline of having children. And they don't tell you that actually having a baby is not that easy. And many people have infertility struggles and also infertility issues. They don't talk about it. So people just make the assumptions that by the time they're ready to conceive, they start the process, boom, they get pregnant, which is not that straightforward. So I think that we need to change the conversation. I'm so happy that I have a chance to talk to, your audience. I'm not sure whether people are thinking about having children or have children already, but I think this is such an important topic. So I also have a lot of research interest in egg freezing. So I want to tell you some things that I find in research instead of just based on my small little clinical practice, that I only see a patient at my fertility center. So there's a global phenomenon, a growing trends of more and more women using egg freezing for fertility planning to preserve the fertility potential. So when I talk about global phenomenon, I'm talking about usually people in the Western world, not people in a developing country. And I also want people to know that egg freezing is illegal in some countries for single women. So in Singapore, if you're single, you cannot do egg freezing. Same as in China. If you don't have a partner, you are not legally able to do egg freezing. Okay, so there's some legal restriction. And then research show that a lot of women, they pursue egg freezing at the age of 36 and 37. And that also reflect my clinical experience, because I went through my clinic data to look at the age. And this is actually the most common age range of women doing egg freezing. And however, 36, 37 is a bit too late already. So the ideal time is before 35, because it all goes together with egg quality and egg quantity. So mostly single women, sometimes, there are partner, like women in a relationship, but usually single. The reason why is because they don't have a partner, they want to have a child, so they want to preserve their fertility potential for future use. And so there are some, Hi, I heard something. Someone want to say something? Oh, okay. Okay. So there are some women, they're in a partner relationship, like they have a husband, they have a partner, but there are some reason why these women want to do egg freezing. The most common reason is because of relationship conflicts, that perhaps the spouse do not want to have a child, but you know, the woman want to have a child. Uh, so the woman go ahead to do egg freezing, just, you know, anticipating that there might be divorce, separation in the future. So it's not that common for a woman in a relationship to do egg freezing, but there are people doing that. So again, I mentioned that, like, strong desire to have a child, and also don't have a committed partner to start a family, and they want a biological child. And you know that we are doing, as like in my field, everything is possible, because you can go for like surrogacy, you can do egg donation, and but a lot of women interested in egg freezing, they don't want to have a non-biological child. So having a biological child is very important. And they also want something called genetic parenthood, which means my eggs and my partner's sperm to have a child, instead of using donor eggs and my partner's sperm to have a child together. So what happened is some women, they've been single for a long time, and they find a partner at a later stage, perhaps maybe at age 40, 41, 42. And by such time, they may be a little bit too old to have a child. So what they can do is they can use their frozen eggs and then use the partner's sperm to create embryos in order to, for hopefully have a successful pregnancy. All the research point to the same things, that egg freezing decision making is complicated. It's not that straightforward, that, you know, just, you know, technology is available, just go and freeze your eggs. It's not that simple, and which is confirmed by research. And and one thing people sort of not think about is about future utilization. A lot of women, they froze their eggs, actually don't have a plan to use it for several reasons, because people use frozen eggs sort of thinking that, okay, so this is my backup plan, and the plan is when I have a partner, I want to try natural way for a natural conception. And if naturally I'm not able to conceive, then I will try fertility treatment. And if fertility treatment I'm not able to conceive, then I will use my frozen eggs. So most people think about frozen eggs as a backup plan, but not something that they plan to use immediately for conception. And so I just have one paper that got accepted for publication. So probably next year, it will be in the peer-reviewed journal. It just got accepted, that I look at 86 women who did egg freezing and how they look at parenthood, desire, childbearing plan, and also utilization in the future. So if anyone's interested, you can email me, I can send you a copy, but that will be next year, because it takes time for a paper to get published. Okay, so just to give you a scoop and ideas about egg freezing overall. So the first reported birth of using frozen egg is in 1986. So, you know, it's not a new technology. We've been doing egg freezing like for a long time. But the thing is, because the success rate is very, very low. The reason why is egg is very difficult to freeze. Like sperm is much easier, but with eggs, mainly because the egg has a lot of water inside the egg. So when you freeze it, like you can freeze anything like eggs. And but once when you decided to use a frozen egg, you have to thaw those eggs and then use sperm for fertilization. And usually those frozen eggs, they don't survive. Okay, and so even though we had the first reported successful live birth using frozen egg in 1986, but it is still an experimental procedure. Until 2012, there is a medical society in the state, which is the authoritative body in assisted reproductive technology. So they lifted experimental labels of egg freezing and saying that egg freezing is no longer experimental procedure. So it's a standard clinical procedure, meaning that we now have enough evidence showing that egg freezing is, have a good success rate. So ever since 2012, and things started to change the landscape. And then you have like 2014, and I think you started to notice that Apple, Facebook, they included social egg freezing in the employee benefit package. And since then, there are a lot of newspaper articles talking about egg freezing. So I'm sure that you have read about egg freezing magazine or newspaper because it's in the media. So everything changed since 2012, okay? And then when Apple, Facebook make it sort of like, encourage the employee to do egg freezing by giving them benefits in 2014. So there are a lot of discussion, debates about, should women do it, technology is available, and why not? Okay, and also there are a lot of commercialization of egg freezing. So you see all these like egg freezing party, happy hour, and you can freeze your eggs to free your career. So egg freezing is also a very profit making procedure in the sense that a lot of women, they pay high costs for the procedure, but many of them, they don't return back to use the frozen eggs. And it's sort of, from a fertility perspective, it's very easy money to make. And so you see there are a lot of advertisement. There are also a lot of brokers helping their clients to look for a clinic to do egg freezing. So what is egg freezing? So egg freezing is essentially the first half of an IVF procedure. I think most of you know what is in vitro fertilization. So I think, IVF is a very invasive procedure. It's very expensive. So by the way, so just one piece of information, if you live in Ontario, you have a valid OKIP card. If you are still under age 43, you're eligible to receive one OKIP funded IVF cycle paid by the government. Okay, so just in case if any of you don't know this information, each IVF cycle is very expensive. So the procedure by itself is roughly about $7,000, and medication easily costs about $5,000. So egg freezing is essentially the first half of an IVF cycle, and the second half is like after retrieve eggs. So you have to freeze the eggs, and then you come back to use those eggs, and then you need to provide sperm to make embryos, and then after creating embryo, you transfer, okay, to have a pregnancy. So the second half is for future. Okay, so this is like what I find in the internet. It may not reflect the fee in Canada, but it's more or less, in the middle range. So egg freezing treatment includes cycle-free medication and storage. Like every single year, you have to pay a few $100s to maintain your frozen eggs. And then when you come back to use the frozen eggs, you have to provide sperm, and you have to do those sperm assessment analysis. And then you can do genetic testing. Genetic testing costs about $5,000. And then if you use donor sperm per vial is about $1,000. So everything adds up that the utilization is also very expensive. So when people think about egg freezing, they just think about the first half, which is the cost to freeze eggs. But people don't usually think about the second half, which is the cost to use the frozen eggs. Another thing is that some people may have to go for more than one cycle, because when you do one cycle, depending on your age, you may not get that many frozen eggs. So your doctor may suggest that you do another cycle so that you can accumulate more eggs for future use. And you need quite like at least about 6 to 8 eggs in order to make one embryos. Okay, so egg freezing, there's really no guarantee of a successful live birth at the end. So I know that it sounds very discouraging. Like when you go to those egg freezing party, they don't tell you. They just ask you like, freeze your egg, don't worry about that. But actually, there's really no guarantee of successful live birth, because it's not about egg freezing success rate, because you can freeze eggs like no problem. But it's more about when you want to use those eggs, your eggs will survive through the thawing, and then will be able to create embryos, and then you have a successful pregnancy through the embryo. So so the key determinant is it's the egg quality and quantity. Okay, so this picture speed it all. Okay, so what happened is, let's say I'm 38 right now, and I did egg freezing at the age of 28. So if I go through a treatment using my frozen eggs, so my success rate is actually counting on the like using egg at age 28, because I'm using the eggs that frozen at that time. So meaning that even though biologically I'm 38, but my success rate is at 28, which is pretty good. Okay. And so egg freezing success rate mainly depending on two factors. Number one is the numbers of eggs you have frozen. And the second thing is the age at the time of the procedure. Like if you did the procedure at the age of 40, even though you have like 10 eggs or 15 eggs, your success rate is still very low. The reason why is because your eggs are not really good. So it's the egg quality. But if you did egg freezing at the age of 30, like very fertile with good egg quality, so your success rate is much higher. And you may not even have to do go through more than one IVF cycle. You can just do one egg freezing cycle, and you are good. At least you have a good chance of having a successful live birth in the future. So in this graph, and this is about female age and also the FH percentage of eggs with normal DNA. As you see it go down. And the fertility curve, usually we suggested that if you are thinking about pregnancy, do it before age 35, because after age 35, the fertility rate just go down. There will be a higher abnormality, and also the fertility is not, the egg quality and quality just go down drastically after age 35. Like between age 30 to age 35, usually, there's some difference, but not a whole lot. But after age 35, you will see a drastic difference. Okay, so in order to do egg freezing, usually there's three major steps to do for fertility assessment. And number one is you need to do a medical examination, including history taking about your age, your health status, your reproductive history, and also your family medical history. And you also need to do a simple blood test, which is called anti-Müllerian hormone, AMH. So AMH is not covered by OKIP. The cost is roughly about $80 to $100, which is like, I think it's a really good blood test to do, because it's pretty accurate. It will tell you how fertile you are. And then the last test you have to do is a transvaginal ultrasound to look at your ovary. So the doctor will be able to look at your ovary to count how many follicles you have, whether they see a lot of follicles or like really not a whole lot. So everything goes according to your age, okay? Now, so some people, even though if they're not interested in having children, I would strongly suggest that just do the fertility investigation, just to know your fertility status. Like for guys, it's very easy that you do a sperm assessment, look at the sperm quality and quantity, and also motility, like how fast the sperm swim. But for female, like do the blood test AMH and do ultrasound, because people make the assumptions that, oh, I still have my period, I'm still fertile. But even if you have period, doesn't mean that you're fertile. And we see many cases that young women have something called premature ovarian failure. There are so many things could go wrong. Okay, so do a fertility investigation to make sure that you're fertile and your fertility is the same as other women of your same age. So that will give you some assurance that you still have time to make plan. Otherwise, by the time you're ready, it may be too late. And also I make a note that number 2 and number 3, the blood test and the ultrasound can only assess a quantity, but not a quality. So for quality, you have to do the in vitro fertilization because we have to look at the eggs to look at to evaluate the quality. Okay, but I think this is pretty basic. And one thing you also need to know is that the medical examination, the ultrasound, all covered by OKIP. You don't have to pay, and why not? And you just have to pay for the AMH test, which is $100. And if you pay $100, you know about your fertility status. Why not? Okay, so I make an app. So I got all these ideas, like a professional interest and research interest. So I put everything together, and I spent roughly about 1.5 years to make the app. And the app is, I didn't know how difficult it was. I applied to a drug company. I got a grant. So they gave me sort of like, a check and make it happen. And I didn't realize that it's so challenging to make an app. So even more challenging than doing research. But I'm so happy that, I finally make it happen. So go to the App Store, Google Play to download the app. It's a free app. You don't have to pay, you don't have to register. It's very user-friendly, and there's no marketing, and we don't track your location, your information. I also put together some information about IVF clinic in Canada. Okay. And so it was launched in May 2017, actually, but the standard is quite outdated. We want to do another update, but it's just very costly to do an update. We have to rewrite the whole app. So we decided not to do it. Okay, so the app, we have some essential information about egg freezing. We have egg freezing quiz. You have to answer questions. It's kind of fun. True, false, okay. And then there's a fertility calculator based on your age and your AMH level, if you know that. And so will give you estimations of your fertility and how many eggs you need in order to have a successful live birth. There's also egg freezing decision aids, which is like more psychosocial. So there's some features that you can change the size. There's audio threads, and then over there's so you can do the tour and also hyperlink to locate different clinics. And we have a website, okay, and Instagram, Facebook, and we also got featured in Fashion Magazine, which is quite amazing. Okay, and also we, because my interest is to promote fertility awareness. My interest is not encouraging people to do egg freezing for no reason. And so I did a public awareness campaign to mail all these packages, information to family doctor in Ontario. So we mail out roughly over 1,000 packages to different family doctor, whether they use it, let the patient know or not. I have no control, but at least, I did my part to let family doctor know that we do have resources to help patients. So I want to show you quick animations that we make to put in this app.
Can everyone hear the sound?
Can you hear that? Can you hear that?
I'm not able to hear the sound. I don't know if it's just me or...
Oh,
me neither.
Okay, so let me just take it up. Yeah. Can you hear that?
Estimate
Yeah.
how many eggs you might be able to
Let me
produce.
just play again.
Thank you.
Welcome to Freeze My Eggs. Whether for personal or medical reasons, this app aims to provide information for women who are considering the option of freezing their eggs. In this app, we provide you with two unique features. Firstly, a calculator that gives you an estimated range of how many eggs you might be able to produce in a single freezing cycle. This is based on your own unique circumstances and also how many eggs you might need to freeze in order to have a good chance of having at least one child. Our second unique feature is a decision aid questionnaire that analyzes whether you are leaning towards or away from egg freezing and why. We hope these features and information will help you in your decision.
Oh, I know why, because you use a headphone. Okay. Oops, I have to stop this. Yes, and so that's the end of the presentation. So I just want to give you a very general overview of egg freezing, and you can find all those information in the app, and it's pretty user-friendly. And yeah, because we wanted to make it very simple so that people understand the information and material. And so we right now have we already have 4,600 downloads internationally, worldwide, and I'm just amazed about like how like the numbers of downloads because I only use Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Occasionally we did some advertisement like through Instagram, but I'm just amazed that like people manage to find the app. I guess because this is the only apps on egg freezing, actually the only decision aids in assisted reproduction. So pretty cool. It's not perfect. It's there's a lot of room for improvement, but I'm just so proud that we make it. And it was launched like almost like 4 years ago, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, so you can just find all the information in the app, so that I don't want to sort of spend time to go through all the details. And I want to leave the floor open for any questions. Yep.
Any questions? So I have a question, Dr. Samantha Yi.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I really learned a lot. Thank you so much for filling my knowledge gap. So I do have a question. So in your experience, or from your past experience counseling the patients and the clients, so do you have any like age suggestion? Because you briefly mentioned that it's better to freeze the eggs before 35-year-old.
Yeah.
Is there any like age range or any specific age range that you recommend?
Yeah. I of course the younger the better, okay, but you also don't want to recommend like someone age 20 to do egg freezing, because that would be like that's way too young. And I think being aware of the fertility is very important. Fertility awareness is number one, okay, and be aware of your body and go to talk to your family doctor, even though if you're not ready to have a child, but do investigation and ask to have like all these fertility tests. I remember that when I talked to my family doctor, I asked her like, can I do the blood test, because I want to find out how fertile I am. And my family doctor looked at me and said like, are you thinking about getting pregnant? I said no, but I just want to know. And my family doctor refused to do it, and I think it's wrong, okay? So being proactive and really advocate for yourself, know your body, know how fertile you are, because if you do have any medical issue, you can be very proactive. You can seek medical help. A lot of time people just they don't know their body, and when they try to conceive, they realize that they have all kinds of like problems. So fertility investigation, fertility awareness are very important. The second thing is that you need to be very well educated in terms of like the egg freezing, the egg freezing treatment. The reason why is because there are so many clinics, they're doing, marketing, they want your money, okay? So if you are really interested in egg freezing, do your research and don't make impulsive decision, and find a good doctor, find a good clinics. And because when you come back, you freeze your eggs, and then years later when you want to use your frozen eggs, you realize that actually your eggs not good, and you went to a very bad clinic, and your frozen cannot be utilized, so which is really bad. So do your own research, And another thing is be proactive. Like if you want to have kid earlier. So don't rely on fertility treatment because it's so expensive, and it's very invasive. It's also very emotionally draining. Like I see people, they wanted to have a good family. They want to build up their career. They spend so much time in order to build up all this financial security in order to have children. And then when they want to have children, they realize that they can't do it. They need to, spend money to do in vitro fertilization, which is like very expensive. And so I think it's like being proactive. If you know you want to have kids earlier. The best way is natural conception. Okay, and the most natural way. But if you don't have a partner, you're interested in egg freezing, yes, do it, but do it with research, and also don't make impulsive decision, and do counseling. Like instead of just talking to a doctor, like talk to a mental health professional, really process if this is something you want to do.
Thank you very much for your answer.
It's because like if you want to spend $15,000 in a cycle, you go to see a doctor, of course, but talk to a mental health professional, really process if this is a good time for you to do that.
Thank you so much for your answer. And I also have a follow-up question on that, because you said it's better to see a family physician to see what my options are.
Yes.
What kind of doctors would I be seeing? And do they have to be a fertility specialist?
To do the basic fertility investigation, you don't have to be a fertility specialist. Any family doctor should be able to do it. And even gynecologists, okay? And but if you want to see a gynecologist and fertility specialist, you need a referral from a family doctor. So you have to talk to your family doctor first. And I also know that some fertility clinic in Toronto, they do have family doctor station in the clinics, and so they do fertility investigation. I guess the goal is, there are some people, they're not sure if this is something they want to do, and they're not sure about doing fertility treatment or not. So they have family physician doing fertility investigation. There are a few clinics, not a whole lot. But the basic one is to talk to your family doctor. Yeah. Okay, because you need a referral.
Okay, thank you so much for your
answer.
answer.
AMH is not hard. It's only $100, and when you look at the AMH number, you know how fertile you are. So why not?
Yeah, obviously. Okay, thank you so much. Any other questions from the audience?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, I found out that I have 2 small fibroids.
Yes.
Does that affect, like, do I need to take it out first before I frozen my eggs? Like,
No, sometimes I see people, they need to have surgery. Like, unless if you want to carry pregnancy, you need to do embryo transfer or like your conception. So you need to talk to your doctor to see whether you need to remove your fibroid. Sometimes you don't have to, sometimes you have to, depending on the position of a fibroid, okay, and how big your fibroid is. And you don't have to, and egg freezing is a very quick procedure, which is usually just about 2 weeks. But one thing you have to bear in mind is that you have to take fertility drugs. The fertility drugs is basically will make your fibroid a bit bigger, okay, because they are hormones. And so talk to your doctor, but you don't need to remove your fibroid.
Usually I don't need to remove my fibroid. It depends on the position and how big, or if I will get pregnant.
Well, if you are talking about egg freezing, you don't need to remove your fibroid. But if you are thinking about pregnancy, you need to talk to your doctor. Because
okay.
Because of your uterus, right? Because you need to gestate a baby. But to do egg retrieval, it's your ovaries.
Okay, and you said that so it will affect my hormone, and then it's likely to get bigger. Will it get smaller after the process?
Depends. Because I'm not a doctor, I can't answer this question, but and also depending on the size, because I know that some women, they have endometriosis, some women, they have fibroids, they have ovarian cysts, and some doctors suggested that just do a surgery to remove that first. Sometimes they said, it's optional, yeah, so I guess the best way is to talk to a gynecologist or fertility doctor. It's because there's so many factors depending on it. But be proactive, as you know that everything takes time. To see a doctor takes like 2 to 3 months. To get a referral, another 2 months. And by such time, your fiber will get bigger. Okay, so be proactive.
Okay, and also you mentioned it's better to do the egg frozen process before 35 years. So now I'm going to be 37 in 2 months.
You can still do it, and I mean, so 35 is general cutoff age, okay? And so do anticipate that you might have to go through more than one cycle in order to have more eggs to increase the success rate. Because everything is the age, like based on how many eggs you have for one cycle, and also your egg quality, which is age dependent. And it means if you definitely want to have more assurance, do more than one cycle.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and also check with your insurance that some insurance company, they do pay for, like you can submit your receipt, like all the medical expenses. I heard that some patient told me that even including IVF. And some medications. So, you know, check with the insurance company. Sometimes it's just one lifetime that they only cover you like $2,000, $3,000. Sometimes it's like every year. So everyone plan is different. Another thing is that you should keep all your receipt because you can claim income tax. Yeah. And yeah, you can do that.
So you mentioned a good start will be go to primary doctor and see if I can get a blood test to see how, like my level of, what's the name for that?
AMH.
AMH?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you Google, like, so usually there are 2 tests, FSH and AMH. And so now we use AMH because AMH, you can do the test any day. You don't have to do it on a specific day after your menstrual cycle. And now AMH used to be like not a very common blood test, but I'm not sure whether Life Lab or, you know, they do AMH. And fertility clinic, definitely they do AMH. And as long as you pay, you know, you have a requisition, you go to fertility clinic, they will let you do it. Yeah, but talk to your family doctor. Just get a number, just have an idea about how fertile you are.
Sounds good. Thank you. This is very helpful.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, Samantha. I'm located in Ontario. So did you mention that for Ontario residents, we can receive one free IVF cycle?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
And how can we know more about like where to get that?
Oh, there is a website. Okay, there's a Ministry of Health website. Okay, and you can just Google because right now there's no secret. Okay, with Google search, and so there's a Ministry of Health website about fertility treatment, and they give you a list of clinics that they got funded. Now, so bear in mind that the funding cycle started April the 1st of every year. It's not starting in January the 1st. Okay, April 1st until March 31st next year. Okay, because it's already October, so if you want to do fertility treatment, you have to do it like sooner. The reason for that is that the ministry only give a fixed numbers of like quota to each clinic, depending on the size. Okay, and for example, Clinic A, they have like 100 IVF cycle. Clinic B, because they're smaller, they only have like 50, a lot of cycles that they can bill the government. Once they reach the maximum, they won't be eligible for funding. So they have to wait for next year. And of course, you can pay the cycle. It doesn't stop you. But you need to talk to a doctor at a clinic to make sure that they still have the capacity for a new patient. So as long as you're under age 43, okay, you're eligible for one funded cycle. And that also includes unlimited transfer. Okay, let's say for one IVF cycle, you have you make 10 embryos. Okay, so you know that each time when you do the transfer, you have to pay, which is like $2,000 expensive. But if you have the funded IVF cycle, every single transfer is covered by the government, but you have to do single embryo transfer. You cannot transfer more than two, like more than one. The goal is to minimize the multiple birth. Okay, and you will do, you can have unlimited transfer until you have a successful outcome. Which is good, yeah. And then and then any extra embryo, you freeze them for future use for your second pregnancy, and like for a second child. So of course you have to pay, but I'm sure you will be so happy to pay, extra cost in the future. Another thing is if you want to do IUI, it's unlimited, like intrauterine insemination. Usually, IUI is the first line of fertility treatment. It's like basically it's to wash the sperm and then put the sperm in the uterus. Okay, we call it intrauterine insemination, IUI. It's unlimited. There's no age limit. Even those if you're 43, 40, 44, you can still do it. You're still eligible. But people don't usually do like too many IUI because the success rate is very, very low. Usually people try a few IUI and then do IVF.
Okay.
And then for IVF, and then when you freeze embryo, you can do genetic screening. Like you can look at embryo whether they're normal, not normal, and that takes that will not be covered by the ministry. Ministry only cover the basics.
Okay, so I guess the procedure will be like to talk to the family doctor and get a H test.
If you're interested, might as well ask your family doctor to refer you to a fertility clinic. And so the fertility clinic will do everything as an investigation. Another thing is like after investigation, you don't really have to do fertility treatment. It's up to you. I see so many women, they just have the investigation and never come back. So that's fine.
Right.
Okay. So you already have a relationship with a doctor and you know that this is a clinic you want to go. So which is great. Or maybe after the first visit, you say, oh my God, like what kind of doctor is that? I'm not coming back. That's fine as well. But you have your investigation.
Yeah. Would you be able to provide some referral on the good gynecologist in Toronto, or that's outside?
It's depending on when you do I can tell you I cannot tell you because sort of I'm working in the field, but when you check Google like doctor review, you sort of have a feel of the doctor. Like there will be biases. Like usually if they have a baby, of course the doctor is good, but they will be complaints. But so do your own research. There are a lot of things in the internet. But go to a big clinic, okay? Because if you go to a small clinic, sometimes they don't have a laboratory because the physician will do the procedure at another IVF clinic. They borrow the lab, and because it's very expensive to have a lab. So do your own research. Nowadays, there's no secret. Everything is in the internet.
Right. Thank you so much. It's very
okay.
Yeah. I see that there are some questions in the
Yes.
chat. Catherine, maybe you can take a look on them.
Sure. I also want to mention one thing is that gay couples, I'm seeing a lot of gay couples. I really love to help gay couples. They don't know that they're eligible for IVF funding as long as they find an egg donor who has an OKIP card. If they have a surrogate, also have an OKIP card, so they will get funded. So gay couples can also get a free IVF cycle, which is awesome.
Thank you for sharing that information. And I see some questions in the chat. Someone's asking, 45 to 50 years, can they use egg donor? What's the success rate?
And yeah, of course, yes. You should use an egg donor because I think it's unethical to put a patient at the age of 44, 45 I call it compassionate IVF because the success rate is so low. With egg donor in Canada, so there's no government like age limit. I know that in some country there are some age limit of the maternal of the intended mother, but not in Canada. So it depends on the clinics, in depending on the physician. I know that some physicians, they're much more open-minded. Some physicians, they're much more rigid in terms of having age cutoff. So 45 to 50 definitely is use egg donor. Yeah, their website, egg donation website, you know, there's no secret. Just Google search egg donation agency Canada. You will see a list, and there are also database. You can just take a look.
Mm-hmm. And also, thank you so much. And there's another question.
I just want to ask, for that year old, if you use egg donor,
yes,
of course you can get a maybe embryo, but the thing is, they still need to put the embryo to 45 and 50 years older. Like when you put it back, I mean, like maybe their body is too old to even have this embryo survive there. I don't know. Like
not really. Like as
no.
you know, there will be a pregnancy risk, like because it all go with age. Like the risk of having gestational diabetes, everything is much higher. But the uterus is different than the ovary. Okay, and so as long as you have good eggs, good embryo, you can still get pregnant. Like age 50. Okay, of course the chance is a little bit lower, but uterus is actually fine. Yeah, uterus is better. Yeah. They still have some uterus still have age restriction, but not as rigid as the ovaries. So I guess the best way is to talk to a fertility doctor. What they would do is they would do an ultrasound to look at the uterus, to make sure the uterus is in good shape. There's no scar tissue, no endometriosis, the lining, everything is good. We also see like very young women that they need to use a surrogate because they have a really bad uterus. Okay, like age 50 sort of pushing the limits of carrying a pregnancy, but you know, if physically you can do it, it's much better than using a surrogate. It's still feasible, but use donor eggs.
Yeah, because that age, I don't think you can use your own egg. So that's maybe the only choice.
That's the only choice. Yeah, and I use donor eggs, and I have patients like 50, 51, 52. They conceive using donor eggs. It's possible. But but do genetic testing, because usually the spouse is around the same age, like 50 or old, a little bit older than 50. When you do the embryo genetic screening, you will minimize the chance of transferring a normal embryo, because it's not just the donor age, but it's the spouse, the male partner. Okay, the male partner is older, so the embryo may have some like maybe abnormal.
Okay, thank you.
Can you repeat that procedure again? What is it called?
Pre-implantation genetic screening, PGS.
Okay.
So basically look at the chromosome. So it will minimize the chance to have a Down syndrome babies. And it's pretty black and white. And so because the embryo, they look good, they looks good. But after transfer to a woman's body, and you know, it's Mother Nature that because it's abnormal, so you will have a miscarriage, or you have a failed implantation, or maybe you have an abnormal pregnancy with a lot of problems like Down syndrome, and then you have to make a very difficult decision to terminate. So doing that procedure actually help you to select good embryo for transfer. It's like a shortcut. Like let's say you have 5 good embryos. You look at those 5 embryos, they all look the same, like look good, but you can't tell which one is normal, which one is not. So by doing the biopsy, we can tell you that this embryo is normal, this one is abnormal, this one is normal, and then you just transfer the normal embryo. Okay, it's a shortcut so that you don't have to go through miscarriage and other things. Yeah, because this is Mother Nature, and that's another reason why like miscarriage is very common, because it's because when the embryo is not abnormal, your body just look after those abnormal pregnancy.
Thank you very much for your answers, Dr. Samantha. And we have another question here. The question is, thanks for your helpful presentation, Dr. Yi. I wonder if we should go to primary doctor for a comprehensive fertility assessment. That's the first question. Or a gynecologist. That's the second question. And the third question is, should we do it only after becoming sexually active? How early would you suggest women to have a fertility assessment?
I think that if you definitely want to have children in the future, you should do it. Okay, you know what? I see young egg donors that they come here to do egg donation, and they thought they're fertile because they're 20 something. Guess what? They're not that fertile after the investigation. They were shocked. Okay, and in fact, they may need to have infertility treatment. So to see family doctor, depending on your family doctor, if your family doctor is very old school, sort of like very traditional, and I guess you might just ask your family doctor to make a referral. Like my family doctor like challenged me, like, why do you want to know that, like if you are not planning to get pregnant? So anyways, so I think the best way is to make a referral to a fertility clinic. And then you have the fertility investigation. Now, bear in mind that when you go to see a fertility doctor, and if the doctor finds out that you're not that interested in pursuing a pregnancy, so they may lose interest, okay? So you might also want to go to, there are some like clinics in Toronto, like I can tell you, I can email the information to Catherine later on. So they have a family doctor in a fertility clinic, and they do fertility investigation. Okay, and gynecologist is difficult to find, and gynecologist should be able to do all these tests. Okay, and but I know that it's take a very long time to get a referral to see a gynecologist, and so family doctor and the fertility clinic would be my suggestion. Now for fertility specialists, so they're all MD, they're all medical doctor, and they have to do a 5-year training on OBGYN. Like, they can deliver baby, they're also gynecologists. And then after that, they need to do 2 years subspecialty training on fertility and endocrinology. Okay, so fertility specialists, they're all OBGYN with 2 more years training to be an infertility specialist. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Dr. Samantha. Anyone want to share suggestions or any opinions or any questions that you may have? Now is the time to share with us or to ask.
I do have a quick question. Sorry,
Right.
I'm sure you covered that before, but I came in late because of my schedule. And you mentioned the egg frozen process is only 2 weeks when you were answering my previous questions.
Right.
And I think the reason why I'm delaying the process is I have my own fear. That it's like a complicated, painful process. And so I was very happy when I found out there's a Zoom meeting about this. So you mentioned it's only like a 2 weeks process.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks. So everything starts when you have your menstrual cycle. Okay, you got day 1, and then so essentially this is an IVF cycle. And if you have friends who have gone through fertility treatment, IVF, you can ask them. So it's the first half, okay. And so depending on the protocol, because everyone is different depending on the doctor. And then so after you finish the menstrual cycle, they will start ask you to start taking fertility drugs. So it's not oral, it's injection. Those are hormones. And so you need to go to a clinic every day during that time period for cycle monitoring. So the cycle monitoring meaning is that they want to take your blood and they want to use the blood test and also the ultrasound results to adjust the dose of a medication. They don't want you to they don't want you to have hyperstimulation. They also don't want you to be understimulated. Okay, meaning that you don't have enough drugs and you are not producing enough eggs for the cycle, which is sort of a waste of money. So the actual process, like depending on how long is your menstrual cycle, but I always tell people that it's usually about 12 days. Like the cycle monitoring is not difficult. Like, you know, the routine ultrasound, blood test, and you have to give yourself injection, which is a little bit, but you will be able to manage. But the most challenging thing is the retrieval. The egg retrieval is a surgical procedure. The actual retrieval is only about 20 minutes, but you need to be in the OR for like at least an hour earlier. It's a whole day procedure. Not a whole day. So treat it as a day procedure because you will be so exhausted after the retrieval. You will feel drowsy because the doctor need to give you a lot of pain medication. You won't feel anything. Sometimes like some doctor, I know that they give a lot of medications that you actually you just sleep through the procedure. Okay, but you will feel tired, exhausted. So it's a whole day. But before it's very straightforward. Yeah, it's not that complicated. It's 2 weeks commitment.
Thank you for the quick rundown. It's a good pep talk for me.
Yeah. But it's a very expensive. So yeah, and also like I know that a lot of clinics they're advertising egg freezing, which is really good business. But you have to go to a good clinics that, you know, they really have good reputations. They have a good laboratory.
So usually the clinic is the place also I store the frozen eggs, right?
Yes, the same place. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a few $100s per year to do freezing.
So that's why you mentioned it's good to have like a good reputation clinic.
Yeah, and you know, I always think that it's not a problem to freeze, but the problem is when you use them, right? You know, sometimes, you know, all the eggs not survive, right? So what do? And you waste all your money and you cannot buy back the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they will always, oh yeah, because of the egg quality, right? Okay, but maybe it's because of the laboratory procedure, right? So go to a very reputable clinic and
okay.
Go to those large clinics.
The big ones. Okay.
Yeah, big one. Yeah, don't go to those.
Okay.
Small. Yeah.
I'm in New York City.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I guess I would
more.
I guess I would just like do what you suggested, just like Google search and see what I find.
Yeah, there is a clinic in New York City. CYN or CNY, and they give a discount, like really like cheap fertility treatments and services. You should Google, and they have a good success rate. And I know that so many people go to that clinic. I think it's called CNY.
CNY clinic?
Letter C, letter Y, CNY, I think. You just Google, it's in New York.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Samantha.
Yeah.
Let's see if we have any more questions.
Sure.
How many more can you take? How many more questions can you take?
I'm happy to help out. So I mean, the goal is to let women know that this procedure is available, and also if you have any questions about fertility, so I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. And we have someone in the chat saying that, is there any way that we can connect after the Zoom meeting? She said she learned so much today, but she cannot remember all the terminologies, LOL. And she said she read the report from New York Times and the success rate was only like 20 to 30%, relatively low. So what are your opinions on that?
Even lower if you look at the numbers of eggs, because I think 20 is too high, okay? Depending on whether they look at a batch of eggs for a cumulative success rate or per egg. If you look at each egg, the success rate is only about 6 to 8%. The reason why is when you have all these eggs, so not all the eggs will make it to embryos. Like let's say, you know, just like any IVF cycle, you have all these retrieved eggs, right? You get 10. Not all 10 embryos make it to day 3 day 4 or day 5 embryo. Day 5 embryo is better. We call it blastocyst. So it's highly unlikely that the 10 eggs equal to 10 embryos. Okay, and then for each embryo, okay, you have to survive the thawing and then the successful implantation and successful pregnancy in order to make a baby. So you can think about each frozen eggs. What is the percentage in order to have a successful live birth? So if that article quotes something like 20%, I think it's very high. Usually 6 to 8% per egg.
Thank you so much.
So that's pretty low, right?
Yes,
so
it is. It is. So it's so there's a lot of bioethics discussions whether we are selling false hope to women to freeze eggs and not to worry about it and pay a premium for a very low chance of success.
Also, as I'm thinking about this, I have another question. So if I do if I freeze my eggs right now, and then later on, if I meet someone, and then I maybe like the eggs that I frozen is not, like you said, it's not like successful rate, and or maybe I just decided to have babies naturally.
Yeah.
So will this process, the egg frozen process and taking out some eggs, will that affect my later on natural conception?
No, it will not. Okay. It will not, because you are born with, everyone born with so many eggs, millions. So it would not affect your fertilities, okay? And so that's a very common question asked by IVF patient and also egg donor. It won't, except if you have some, you develop some side effects like infection during the procedure. As you know, that all procedure has risks, but the risks are usually very low because the doctor do it so often, right? So it will not make you less fertile because you have so many eggs in your ovary.
Oh, that's different from what I know. I thought we had certain number of eggs when we were born. So that's
you have
true.
millions. You have millions of eggs. Okay, you have millions. So each menstrual cycle, usually how it goes, you ovulate on your right ovary and left ovary, right and left, usually 1 egg each time. And so sometimes you have 2 eggs, and if you have natural conception, you have twin pregnancy. Okay, and but all those eggs will disappear, and so it will not even release on your body, it just disappear. So you're all born with millions, and so it just go down drastically. Another thing is what the fertility drugs will do is it will not make new eggs. Like only men can do, sort of like the sperm will generate again every 3 months, a cycle of sperm, but not for eggs. So it's a fixed numbers of eggs. And so the fertility drugs will make your eggs mature, like bigger, so that we can harvest, we can retrieve those eggs. But otherwise, the eggs will dismantle, just gone.
Okay, I think I know what you're saying. So although the successful rate, like you said, is only from 6 to 8%, but at the same time, we have nothing to lose in this process.
Yeah, I have patients
like you said, the only risk is like the process that may be during the process you get infection. Like that's the only risk.
That's very, very low risk, just like any medical procedure, right?
Okay.
Or if the doctor like hyperstimulate you, but usually it doesn't happen like because we are not that young, right? It only happens to a young egg donors. Like you know what? For egg donors, essentially it's the same procedure they have to go through, but they are 20. Like when they are 20, pumped with a lot of fertility drugs, and they have a higher risk of having ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. But we're older, so it should be fine. Okay. Another thing is priceless if you have a biological child. I see people, they grieve for the loss. They go through IVF, 1 IVF, 2 IVF, 3 IVF, 4 IVF in order to have a child. And then until they know that this is absolutely not possible to have a biological child, so the only chance is to use donor eggs, and they will switch to donor eggs. And by such time, they have already spent maybe $60,000 or $80,000. So if you think about the chance for you to have a biological child in the future, I think I would do it. Okay, but I have friends sort of like, they like to travel, they are already in a relationship, but they want to like buy a house first, have a stable career, and then they want to have kids. I said, no, go to have kids first. Okay, don't like it, because you can always do all these things later on. Okay, so it's more for single women that they don't have a partner, and they don't want to be a single mom using donor sperm. So what do? Freeze your eggs.
Yes, like I'm a single woman, 37 years old.
Yes, do it. So
And
you might have to do more than once. Yeah, but it's still like do it.
Yeah, this is so helpful. I think you're really doing some great good deed, because you really corrected the misinformation I have about the process, about like a lot of things. I'm so happy I joined the meeting today.
Happy. And also, if you have an insurance package, check with your insurance company. Like I know that at least to see a counselor is covered. Most of the drug, like I can't say most, depending on the drug plan, they cover particular drugs, but to a maximum. And if you can do it strategically. I know that some people, they do 2 or 3 IVF cycle like together, and they accumulate all these, receipt, and they bill income tax. So anyway, so just do all the research to see what kind of coverage you have, and then go to a good clinic. Yeah.
Thank you. It's very helpful.
Oh, good.
I did not know you were from Canada, so I feel even like more grateful. Like so far away, but I'm getting such like valuable priceless information tonight.
Okay, that's good. And use the app because I have the I do have a lot of information in the app. Yeah.
What app? Did I miss something?
The Freeze My Eggs. Yep. Let me just show this. Can I share screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the app. Yeah. You can just download the app. It's called Freeze My Eggs. It's FRZ.
Got it. I just made a screenshot. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I stopped promoting the app because it's just so time consuming, and I'm still amazed that every single day we have downloads. I don't know how people find the app. Maybe just because we have all these things in the internet. But every single day we have downloads. Yeah. So which means people like go to internet to search for information. So don't feel there's a stigma. I know that Catherine is doing amazing things, smash stigma. If you think this is something you want to do, just do it. But be a wise patient, a wise consumer. Don't let people just take your money and give you false hope.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Dr. Samantha Yi. And before we end today's webinar, I just want to see if anyone else wants to ask you any questions or want to share some personal experience or story. Anyone wants to come forward? Okay, I guess not.
Oh, sorry, Catherine. Hi, Samantha. Hey. Sorry, I just stepped out a little bit and then I came back. Hey, yeah. So I guess just like Catherine said before we left, and then let me introduce myself. My name's Mandy, and Dr. Yi actually is my baby child Charlotte's fairy godmother.
Fairy godmother, yes.
I had 10 IVF cycles, and my child Charlotte was conceived through surrogate. So I guess when I'm saying this, I guess probably some people already have some question for me. Yeah, so I went through the whole journey. And of course, I mean, Dr. Yi supporting me along the way. And it's a very difficult journey, but like I was saying, it's all this worth it when you have your own family.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Mandy. That's very encouraging, and I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so, you know, like I just think that when I was young, so I never thought about like, you know, sort of family, focusing on career. But you know, just when I look back, and we have the time to focus on, like, you know, buy a house, mortgage, career. But you know, having a child is priceless. And if you this is something you want to do it, like, do it sooner. And people think that IVF is able to do many things. You know, if you have a problem, just go to see a fertility doctor, thinking that we can perform magic. But that's not true. I think the best way is to have your baby in your bedroom, right? Conceived in a natural way without paying so much money. It's just like, and Mandy can talk about it. It's the whole process. It's emotionally draining. It's invasive. You need to. A lot of people gave up, like, in the process, because it was just so stressful. Yeah, and if you can do it, just do it now. So I talked to all my young friends, like all my students, like, because I have a lot of research students. They're like 20, 23, 24, like, and they're just sort of like starting to talk about having kids. Yeah, and I said, you know, have kids earlier. Don't wait. You know, graduate school can wait. Other things can wait. But it's your fertility. So I'm so happy that I have a chance to talk about egg freezing, or maybe touch on some other things like IVF, surrogacy, egg donation. But anything that I can help people, I think, yeah, I'm willing to do it, because I see a lot of sadness, and I see a lot of people just spend so much money, but at the end not being able to achieve the goal to have a family at the end, which is heartbreaking.
Hey, Sam, do you want to tell them about this? I know that you no longer facilitate the group. I know that you used to have a group that, like, for the parent,
Yes,
like the
yes,
mother.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I still have it in a Facebook. You can search. It's called Choice Mom Toronto. So when I was a social worker in a hospital. So I formed a support group to help single women using donor sperm, because I think that they need more support. And then I create a group in a community that is not just for a specific clinic. So anyone in the community can join the support group. Is a Choice Mom. It's called Choice Mom Toronto. Actually, it's a single woman using donor insemination. And I stopped doing it the beginning of the year, mainly because it just becomes so big that I cannot manage like one person, the whole community. So I'm transitioning things to another organization. But I spent roughly about 6 years organizing like Choice Mom Toronto. Yeah, helping women, supporting them. Like, you know, it's in a support group, like 10 women, sometimes 15, 20, talking about the stress of using donor sperm as a single woman, the stigma, not having a boyfriend, not having a partner. Yeah.
Dr. Z, by the way, I'm a licensed clinical psychologist.
Yes.
So, yeah, if I can be helpful for that kind of things, let me know.
Are you in Toronto? Oh,
no, I'm in New York. I'm the one who's in New York City.
Okay.
But if you're doing something that's online, then I can help out.
That's great. Yeah. And I think in New York, there are a lot of single women. Yep.
Yes, that's the city.
Yep.
Well, I guess what Dr. Ye trying to say is about the mother by choice, right? I mean, you know, I guess it's that there's so many options there. And then, although, I mean, there's always a stigma there, but like I think it's empowering, right?
Yeah. I also, and right now I'm hoping that, you know, if Catherine is, invite me to come back, I would be happy to talk about gay couples having babies, because this is like, there's so much stigma for especially Asian, having a family. And I see so many gay men as if like, this is like, I feel more normal to see gay couples than heterosexual couples. And I love seeing gay couples because I can skip all these like grief, like the intended mother. They're just so happy, so grateful. And but I think many gay men, gay couples that they don't have those information, they don't think it's feasible. So I think, you know, if I can help you, I would be happy to do another webinar. Yeah, on like surrogacy, make donation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Samantha. We would love to have you back for another webinar on gay couples and surrogacy. Yeah, and also thank you, Mandy, for sharing your vulnerability with us and for sharing your precious personal journey with us. We really appreciate your personal story and experience, and your story definitely empowers a lot of people here, I'm sure. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And thank you so much, Dr. Samantha, for today's speech. And I just want to express appreciation for your inspiration today and your years of research and your depth of understanding and your ability to present this subject in such an interesting way. Produced one of the most memorable evenings in our group's history, for sure. And the subject really intrigues me, and I plan to learn more, to be honest. I'm only 26, but I plan to learn more. And you're always welcome at our Smash Stigma support series. And we're so looking forward to have you for more webinars on like gay couples and also surrogacy and so on. And I'm sure this is a conversation that we will continue having here at FASS.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. That's good.
How
Thank you for inviting me.
How do I find out like more webinar from Dr. Z? Like, is there a website I can go to so I can follow this kind of webinars from Dr. Z?
You can follow us on LinkedIn if you want. Our LinkedIn page is For a Safer Space. This is our nonprofit name. So you can just follow our LinkedIn page, or if you have a WeChat, we do have a WeChat group for webinar series. You can add me on WeChat, and yeah, and if you have WhatsApp, I have WhatsApp group as well. So this is how you can stay connected with us. And also we have an Instagram page. Our Instagram page is, I'm going to type it here. So it's for_a_safer_space. So feel free to follow us for more events in the future.
I like the name of it, For Safer Space.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So how did you find this webinar? I don't know the name of the audience who just asked the question. How did you find this webinar?
A friend, one of my friends, she's a social worker. We both work in the city hospital here in New York City. And she and I work very closely together. So she knows I'm interested in the topic. And I think somehow she saw it somewhere. She's much younger. She's like 10 years younger than I am.
Yeah.
So she's not interested in the information, but she just like forward me the information.
Yeah.
So that's why, yeah. So I'm very happy to know that. And also like if I have patient who's interested in the topic, or even like gay couple getting babies, so then I can forward all this information to people.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Thank you so much for supporting our webinar and for supporting the speaker that we have. Thank you. Before we end today's webinar, any questions? Any last words from Dr. Lee?
I just hope that maybe in the future, so there's like a sort of a support group that like have an open conversation, and so we can see faces of each other, and providing that you feel comfortable. And I think it's like just creating a community to support each other. So that would be good. And I know that some people don't feel comfortable, especially because
I saw my face.
Nice. Yeah, I know that sometimes I'm in pajamas evening. Yeah, but I think it's just good to see the faces together. And as a woman, we need to support one another. Yeah. Thank you for showing your face.
Of course.
Nice. Yeah.
The least I could do after all the valuable information tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Dr. Z and Catherine. Hopefully I will be able to join this kind of webinar again, or at least I forward the information to people they need it.
Okay, thank you so much. How do I address you? What's your, how do I call you?
You can call me Xin Yu.
Okay, thank you so much
Yeah.
for pushing you.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you here today. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you everyone for coming. I really appreciate your attendance. And thank you so much, Dr. Yi, for
Hey,
giving us so
thank you.
many valuable information. And we would love to have you back for other webinar series. And please,
Yeah.
please come back.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
a lot of audiences are going to be very excited for your
Yeah.
comeback.
Yeah. I don't know whether there's a way to reach those gay couples that, because I see like men, they are coming to the clinic like really late and no one told them because they just make the assumptions that this is not feasible. Same for females that, there are different fertility options that because no one told them. So I mean, we need to have more educational series like that to open the conversation, let people know that they have options.
Okay, yes. So I do have two groups that's dedicated to like LGBTQ ally and also people who identify themselves as LGBTQ community. And I can definitely, so when we have a date for that webinar, I will definitely spread the words in those.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I guess you don't want to like to try not to have to choose soon because it's like back to back. Yeah, but I'm happy to come back to speak to you guys. Anything about fertility, it's about not parenting because I don't have kids, but it's more about fertility awareness, a fertility option, and family building.
Thank you so much, Samantha, Dr. Samantha Yi.
That's okay. Call me Samantha.
Okay, I really appreciate your contribution for like diversity and inclusion. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so I guess that's it for today's webinar. And a lot of people were asking, how can they reach you? Do you want to leave an email or?
Yeah, sure. You can always find me internet. I used to be very active in social media, and I just sort of find that it just becomes so obsessed. So you can always find me, like direct message me, like LinkedIn, Twitter, or my email is Samantha SYEE@gmail.com. Like Samantha SYEE. And you can always find me like in the internet. There's no secret right now. You can find anything in the internet.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Samantha. And I just typed your email in the chat box. Everyone can copy and paste that to your notepad, to your phone. So now you have Dr. Samantha's contact. And if you want to ask any questions to Dr. Samantha, feel free to reach out to her. And she's very friendly, as you can see. So thank you everyone for coming, and stay tuned. We will have more talk series and webinar series in the future at For a Safer Space. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for invitation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
I can really feel your passion.
Oh, thank you. That's good. Yeah.
I'm so happy I met you today. Although it's like in country, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. That's good. Okay.
Be well.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Okay, so let me see.